Hello and welcome to Films and That. My name is Rob Turnbull.
My name's Sam Hall.
And today, Sam, what are we looking at?
Robert Altman's Nashville.
Yay.
Directed by Robert Altman and written by Joan Tewkesbury, Nashville centres around the events of a 5-day matinee of country music and populist politics.
You tell me, one, I love you, two, I'm thinking of you, three, I'll never let you go.
This review contains spoilers. Robert Altman started out making TV, and that carries through for this film quite a lot for me. There's a lot of characters, for one thing, a lot of interweaving plot lines. I think there's like 25 major speaking roles or something like that.
Yeah, I think Joan Tewkesbury actually sort of talks about it as if it was like a soap opera. Some of the things that happened in the film happened to Joan on the way to Nashville. A lot of the reason why the film came out the way it did was because Robert was given as much... He wasn't given much money, but he was given a lot of freedom. And that freedom helped him to sort of create the rather unusual product. I mean, for a Hollywood film, you would say it's pretty unusual.
Definitely very unique. What I understand about him, he likes to have lots going on in the scene. Like a crowd talking, you'd hear bits from different characters in that crowd.
Yeah, from the get-go, you've got just the feeling that you're fly on the wall throughout the whole thing. Because there's no centre to this film apart from the town itself, and that's the feeling they're trying to give off. You know, that this is you are literally experiencing a town, not just some events.
We've got a fantastic class.
How you doing, Sarge? Did you kill anybody this week?
Really support for you.
They got off with quite a strong start with the country stroke, the guy with the political ambitions. I think his name's Haven. He starts off like he's singing this ridiculously overblown patriotic song.
I share our country's motto, and in God I place my trust.
He's done the whole song to the end, and then he gets upset about the pianist.
Yeah.
Right at the end of the song. Not at the beginning, right at the end when he's just finished recording.
Hold it. Hold it.
Hold it, everybody.
Damn it, Bob. What's the name of the piano player, Bob?
And then immediately that's when we meet this journalist who claims to be from the BBC called Opal.
Bob.
I'm Opal. I'm from the
Bob,
BBC, and I'm
buddy,
doing a
both of
documentary
you.
on Nashville.
You know I don't allow no people visiting when I'm recording.
As it goes on, you just keep on meeting people and people and people and people and people.
Yeah.
And the people they're all got layers. Some of them have got arcs, but it's just too difficult, really, I think, to talk about them all because it's just so many different events.
Yeah, so it's kind of difficult to kind of sum up what the film's about, but I mean, the plot generally revolves around there's this kind of political rally that's going to happen, like this big...
Yeah, and it's been combined with a music festival sort of thing.
Yeah, then that's going to happen towards the end of the film, and everyone's kind of congregating, because everyone in the film loves country music, so that's why they're there, aren't they?
Yeah.
They've come to see Barbara Jean, is that her name?
Yes.
Barbara Jean, who's come out of hospital after a fire or something.
And then she's collapsed or something. So there's obviously some sort of fears about her health.
We can just talk for ages about the individual little plot points. But I mean, what do you think the film's about for you? What do you think about it?
I think I summed it up in the summary, but it's a reflection of America as it was at the time. It delves into like the American character. It delves into the American dream. There's one character who is just pretty but can't sing, and she gets her big break. There's another character who doesn't get a big break but can sing.
Yeah, is that the drunk wife? It's like he's running away from her husband.
Yeah. Don't say you saw me.
The American dream is a big thing, but there's also it's like that kind of deranged politics. Sometimes get in some of these smaller parts, some of the more obscure parts of America. The gun stuff is there. Love of music, I suppose. All these different larger-than-life characters, racial divisions, political divisions, religious divisions. All that is kind of highlighted, but sort of in a very subtle way, and it just drops in and out of it all.
I want you to study real hard because just remember, any one of you can grow up to be the president.
The kind of thing that stuck out for me the most was this kind of aspect of how Americans are overly positive, even though everything seems to be kind of creepy and kind of terrible, kind of hanging around. There's a bit when Haven's saying, "Oh, aren't these lovely girls? They're going to grow up and be lovely girls and stuff like that." And there's just these schoolgirls walking around with rifles.
Did you ever see such pretty girls in your life? Someday you're going to be big girls like your mommy.
Like it's like it's a great event, and it's just, would you give a firearm to a child? Maybe in America you would.
Making us all feel so at home like yours.
Feel free to
still-
talk in the comments below
There's
about
still
that.
the film it's Robert Altman and Joan Tewkesbury. It's their self-reflectiveness of America. You know, I have to say it's their opinion of America. You know,
But it's very satirical.
yes,
Like Robert Altman's famous for MASH, and it's that kind of farcical nature of kind of horrific things.
I think
happen.
satire is the right word rather than straight up comedy. You know, it's not laugh out loud, but it is satirical. It does poke fun here and there. Another aspect is what would you call it? The contradictory nature of the whole three love thing. Maybe
Yeah,
there's a character who sleeps with everyone.
yeah.
He's a womanizer, you know, and then there's this sort of contradictory thing. It's not really free love. It's just someone abusing their trust, really, you know.
One of my favourite scenes is towards the end when he says something along the lines of, "I wrote this song for a special lady in the audience," or something, and there's 4 girls in the audience that all think it's for them.
Yeah,
The person who is actually for, the person who he actually loves, is someone that's been avoiding him the whole film. Kind of tragic but sweet moment, because she's married to someone else who she doesn't really like because he doesn't interested in their kids. You know, there's all this going on in the background. There's a lot of subtext, a lot of well written film.
yeah,
I think.
and this is one aspect of the film. Did you not find it hard to follow? I had to read the Wikipedia page afterwards to try and sort
Yeah.
of get all the different things that are going on.
I think it definitely deserves a second watch. I got a lot more out of it the second time I viewed it, because there were characters that I just didn't even notice the first time.
There's Jeff Goldblum's in it.
Yeah.
You don't even spot him. The guy from RoboCop.
Which one?
The police chief in RoboCop, is it? He's in it. He's a chef in it, and you find out that he's looking after the girl who can't sing later on.
He's the only one that's actually honest to her and tells her she can't sing.
Yeah,
Listen, I don't know how to tell you this, but I've been meaning to tell you this for a long time. You can't sing.
Because he's trying to
you
save her.
can't sing. Stop doing it. A lot of the recognisable faces have quite small parts.
And Jeff Goldblum doesn't speak. at all.
No. I don't know if this was his first film,
Maybe.
but you get the impression that he wasn't a star at the time.
It's a great testament to the writer that everyone seems to have an individual personality. You see films that have like maybe 2 or 3 characters and you don't really care for them. You generally tend to get every single person in this, and you get where they're coming from.
Yeah.
They feel like real people, and that is what he was obviously going for with this film, and he really achieved it, I think.
One thing that Joan Tewkesbury talks about is it reminded her of this kind of early Hollywood. Everyone's going to LA because everyone wants to find fame, But there's an element of that, isn't it? Everyone's wants to be an entertainer, so everyone's quite theatrical.
A lot of people get dropped quite easily if they're not that interesting. They're not very friendly under the surface of it all.
Yeah.
It's quite a heartbreaking moment when, Buddy, the son of Haven, he wants to be a singer, but he's written one song and he starts singing it to the BBC woman because she asked him to.
Yeah.
Then like 2 lines in, she sees someone else that's more famous than him and she runs off.
Yeah.
Just leaves him there singing on his own.
And I'll stay in the heart.
It's Elliot Gould. It's Elliot Gould.
Just like, oh, yeah, tragic.
Yeah, but maybe there's a element. I mean, we talked about America, but that just a bit of the human character there. Sometimes it's all right to say, yeah, we are. A lot of us are out there just to get what we can from life and from people.
Well, it's very honest. There's another scene that's one of the characters finds out his wife's died.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really brutal. It's really hitting home. Like, he just goes to a hospital and says, "Oh, sorry, your wife's died." And then someone else starts talking to him immediately. And he just doesn't know what to do. And
Mrs. Green expired this morning.
What?
Mrs. Green died this morning. Wait right here, let me go get the doctor.
Mr. Green? Mr. Green, you know, my mama saved her life. They used to live next door to each other. My mama was the one that put out the flames. But she always loved Barbara Jean more than anything. She's still keeping a scrapbook on her. The only thing she said to me when I joined up was, she said, son, when you're doing your travels, I want you to see Barbara Jean. You don't have to say nothing about me or nothing like that. I just want you to see Barbara Jean. So that's what I've been doing. Now I'm going to go over to Opryland, hear her sing. You give my best to your wife now.
And it cuts up from that to something else completely different without giving you kind of any time to cope with that.
It's quite a good film school lecture in how to write story, I think, through dialogue without making it all about exploitation.
Do you mean exposition?
Exposition, sorry, yeah.
Only time I ever went hog wild around the bend was for the Kennedy boys. But they were different.
Oh, yes, ma'am, they were.
There's a kind of underpinning of political assassination, isn't there? One of the characters starts talking about Kennedy at one point and then something else later on.
Yeah, I mean, you don't take anything from it while you're watching it because so many different things are going on.
Yeah, one of the characters has decided to take a gun to the festival and shoot one of the acts.
Robert Altman, after the death of John Lennon, someone rang him up from the press and said, do you feel partly responsible for this, given that you touched upon this in your film? And he says, no, of course not, but don't you feel responsible for not getting my message? Which was, this guy did this because of fame, because he wanted fame, because he was nobody and they were somebody. And now he found an easy way to become somebody, to become written in the history books.
That kind of ties into the theme of everyone's coming to this area to get fame, aren't they? Just to hang around. Some people are just hanging around, just hoping that they get famous.
And as I understand it, that was put in later on as well. But in a way, that does kind of sum it all up.
I'm all right. You get her. You get her. Yeah. You get her, but help her off. I'm all right. I'm all right. Get Walker out of here. Get Walker out of here. Come on, get up off your... Wait a minute, man. Watch your head. Y'all take it easy now.
It's a huge downer, but then it's immediately brought up again when the wife who's running away from her husband to become a singer, she finally gets her big break. And she raises everyone's spirits after they've just witnessed something horrific.
Well, Haven says it perfectly. He says something like,
This isn't Dallas, it's Nashville. Oh, man, this is Nashville. You show them what we're made of. They can't do this to us here in Nashville.
And isn't it funny that he's sort of like the hero of that moment? And throughout the whole film, he's been a bit of a bastard. And it's interesting that he was like the man of the moment there to kind of try and grab everything back from the precipice.
Okay, everybody, sing. Come on, sing.
Let me get somebody to help you.
Sing. Sing.
I think you've been hurt.
I'm all right.
I think you've been hurt.
Watch your step down. Watch your step down.
It don't worry me. You may say I'm free. It don't worry me.
what was your favourite scene in the film?
Should have thought about this while I was eating a pizza, Rob.
Well, why don't you ask me first?
Okay, what was your favourite scene, Rob?
Barbara Jean is on stage at the boathouse place.
Oh, and she starts telling ad-libbing stories about her life.
She starts ad-libbing and while the band's playing, as an introduction to the song, and she just keeps going, and then the band just eventually stops.
Sing for you. And I heard on the radio this cutest little boy was 9 years old, and you know how sometimes a DJ will play a tune and ask everybody to phone in and say how they like it, you know?
And she's just kind of, all right, let's play the song now. And then she just keeps doing it. And it starts off funny, but then it slowly becomes really tragic as you realise she's kind of lost her mind a bit. And then she has to be taken off stage.
I think there's a storm. Seems like it's a brewing. That's what my granddaddy used to say all the time before he lost his hearing. Anyway,
Hey.
am I all right?
I'm gonna get you some lemonade. Oh, you're fine, darling, fine. It's the microphone. Give me the
I
mic.
ain't done.
Oh, I know.
I ain't done.
Go get some.
That kind of a contrast between comedy and satire and this kind of dark humanity that is echoed through other scenes in this film. That's what I really, really like that in this.
Well, I don't know if this reflects badly on me, but I think my favourite scene in terms of the way what you've been talking about, you know, like the culmination of realisation when Sulin Gay just not getting that she can't sing, has this horrible moment of degradation when she's forced to strip in front of lots of men cheering and jeering at her.
Yeah.
And she genuinely did go on that stage to sing, you know. And it turns out that apparently that was very personal for the writer Joan, who had worked in a nightclub, and she'd seen women have to go through that.
Understand what's going on? Now listen, come on. In Trout Town, you're supposed to strip. I'm a singer.
I think just because of the message of that scene, really, you know, I think it was quite strong.
It's a very powerful scene.
Yeah.
You can just see her hopes being crushed in that scene. Really.
Yeah, it's really sad, really.
She's bullied into it because they promise her that she can sing with Barbara Jean on stage in the next show. So they're just bribing her to do.
And it exposes some of the other characters as well to their flaws. Even some of them who hadn't necessarily done anything that bad up until then. You know, suddenly, you know, it's. I mean, this happens all the way through the film. You know, people's flaws are revealed, but it really does sort of build up in that kind of way. And at that point also, we sympathise with them all, because up until then we are all laughing at her as well. We're laughing with everyone else about her bad singing.
Yeah,
and then up until this point, there's, you know, we're right on her side.
Because she's quite naive, and nothing that bad has happened up until that point. But that's the point when it goes off the cliff, isn't it? Really, to it really kind of damaging her, I think. Okay, so Sam, what did you think of Nashville?
It's one of these films where I do like it. I don't love it necessarily, but I appreciate it for everything that it does and the messages that it brings on and the kind of the uniqueness of it. So that I feel like, I appreciate it, you know, but not in that kind of like, I appreciate it, but I didn't really. No, I did like it. It's the sort of thing I'd switch on if I need some inspiration rather than because I enjoy it, you know.
Yeah, well, I really liked it. I'm a big fan of writing and kind of quality writing. There's a lot of that in this. Yeah, a lot of subtext, which is quite hard to do, and particularly the amount of characters is just incredible for a film, at least. Yeah, I feel that Joan did both of them, Robert and Joan, did an incredible job working all these things together and making it actually gel. Yeah, because it is seamless, and there's no kind of one character falls down because they're trying to do too much. You know, I've seen films where they've tried to shove too many characters in, and a lot of them are very underdeveloped. But they aren't in this. The whole thing feels like a really functional town, like you were saying at the beginning. It feels like you're actually there with these people in the crowd, hearing someone talk over there and having a conversation at the other end, and you're kind of just dipping in and out of these people's lives. Maybe that's what's so interesting about it, is that it's very unusual for an American production because it is real life. Yeah, it's realism. I mean, it's real life in an interesting area, an interesting event. You know, it's not something that happens every day. You know, but there are places probably all over the world you go to where people are trying to make it in one place at one time. But then there's also the people that don't make it. Yeah. And have to kind who don't get highlighted. Yeah. Especially not in American films. So this is a great example of one where it does. Yeah, because it kind of shits on the American dream a bit, doesn't it? Yeah. It kind of says, well, not everyone can make it in America. A lot of people are exploited, and a lot of people live horrible lives. But yeah, I think it's definitely watch it twice at least. At least, yeah. You can get more out of it. It's interesting, you know.
No, it's a...